actually hit her in the back of the head, right where your spine is. Because he was telling me, he was like, if you hit right there, like just one like good hit, you can just knock the person out and then they'll be dead. And she was like pretending to be dead for a while. I would see that she was still breathing and I'll be like, Johnny, she's still alive.
It's a quiet evening in Lawrenceville, Georgia, the kind where the hum of cicadas fills the air and the streetlights flicker to life. Wendy Bjorge, 63, sits in her cozy living room, flipping through a faded photo album, the soft glow of a lamp casting shadows on the walls. She smiles at a picture of her granddaughter, Cassandra, from happier times, unaware of the faint creak echoing from the hallway. The house feels still, too still. Wendy doesn't notice the figure watching her from the darkness, and doesn't sense the danger closing in. What happens next will shatter this peaceful scene and leave an entire community reeling. And it's more twisted than you could ever imagine. Stick around, because the truth behind this night is darker than anything you've heard before. It's a quiet evening in Lawrenceville, Georgia, the kind where the hum of cicadas fills the air and the streetlights flicker to life. On April 1st, 2017, the Bjorge household seemed like any other in this suburban enclave. Wendy Bjorge, 63, is in the kitchen, the rhythmic chop of her knife slicing through carrots echoing softly. She hums a tune, perhaps thinking of the family dinner she's preparing, the aroma of garlic and herbs wafting through the air. But there's a tension in the house, a subtle unease that's hard to pinpoint. Maybe it's the way the floorboards creak underfoot, or the distant thud from the garage where Randall, her husband, is tinkering with his tools. Wendy pauses, knife hovering above the cutting board, listening. Nothing. She shakes her head, dismissing the flicker of worry, and returns to her task. In the garage, Randall, also 63, is surrounded by the familiar scent of oil and sawdust. He's organizing his workbench, the clink of metal on metal a comforting rhythm. Yet, there's a shadow at the edge of his vision, a presence he can't quite place. He glances toward the house, where the warm light spills from the kitchen window, but something feels off. The air grows thick and heavy with an unspoken dread. He wipes his hands on a rag and steps toward the door, and that's when he hears it. A muffled sound, like a whisper or a stifled cry. "Wendy?" he calls out, but there's no response. The silence stretches, oppressive and unnerving. But here's what the neighbors didn't know. Something was already unfolding inside that house. The night deepens, and the Bjorge home becomes a tomb of secrets. Cassandra, 16, Wendy's granddaughter, and her boyfriend, Johnny Ryder, 19, are not just visitors. They are predators in waiting. The details that follow are chilling. Armed with a tire iron, a hammer, and a baseball bat, the teens unleash a fury that defies comprehension. Wendy and Randall are beaten, stabbed, their throats slit in a brutal crescendo of violence. The house, once a haven, transforms into a crime scene, the walls silent witnesses to the horror. And that's everything we know about their final moments. Or so we thought. But the story doesn't end there. For a week, Cassandra and Johnny stay, sealing the bedroom door with caulk to contain the stench of decay. They live among the dead, smoking marijuana, ordering pizza, and hosting friends. The audacity is staggering, the disregard for life incomprehensible. They even plan to kill more: Ryder's sister, her boyfriend, Cassandra's mother. But Ryder backs out, a flicker of conscience or perhaps fear. The sister escapes, alerts the authorities, and the house of horrors is exposed. The SWAT team descends, and after a tense standoff, the teens are arrested, and their reign of terror ends. Yet the question lingers. Why? The answers, like the shadows in that house, remain elusive, waiting to be unraveled in the darkness that follows. The interrogation room was a stark contrast to the chaos of the Bjorge residence. Cold, fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows on the concrete walls. Cassandra Bjorge sat across from Detective Dave Brooch, her hands folded calmly, her eyes distant. Johnny Ryder slouched beside her, his leg bouncing under the table, betraying the nerves she concealed. It was April 10th, 2017, less than 24 hours after the SWAT team had dragged them from the house, ending their week of macabre normalcy. The air was heavy, thick, with the weight of what they had done. Brooch leaned forward, his voice low. "Tell me why," he said. The silence stretched, taut and suffocating. Cassandra spoke first, her tone flat, almost rehearsed. She claimed it was self-defense, that Wendy and Randall had attacked them, leaving no choice. Johnny nodded, his eyes fixed on the table, but his fidgeting told a different story. The detectives weren't buying it. The evidence contradicted her words. The tire iron, the hammer, the baseball bat, all wielded with relentless fury. The stab wounds, the slit throats, these were not the acts of desperate victims. They were calculated and deliberate. Brooch pressed harder, his questions sharp, cutting through her calm facade. "You stayed in that house for a week," he said, pausing for effect, "with their bodies rotting upstairs." Cassandra didn't flinch. Johnny's leg stopped bouncing. The interrogation tapes, later reviewed by the prosecution, revealed a chilling detachment. Cassandra described sealing the bedroom door with caulk, her voice steady, as if discussing a mundane chore. Johnny mumbled about ordering pizza, his words trailing off into silence. The detectives exchanged glances, unnerved by the casualness. How could they live like that? The answer came in fragments. They had planned it, rehearsed it, and waited for the right moment. Wendy and Randall weren't just targets. They were obstacles. But here's what the detectives didn't expect. The story was about to shift. Halfway through the session, Cassandra's demeanor cracked. Her eyes flicked to Johnny, a fleeting glance, but it was enough. Brooch caught it, leaning in. "Who else was there?" he asked. The room stilled, the air electric. She hesitated, then claimed it was just them. Johnny's head snapped up, his gaze locking with hers, a silent warning. The partial fingerprint from the crime scene flashed in Bruce's mind, that smudge on the wall, unaccounted for. He pushed again, his voice a whisper. Someone else was in that house. The tension broke as Cassandra smirked, a twisted curl of her lips, but she said nothing. And just when they thought they had her, something slipped through the cracks. The detective shifted focus to Johnny, sensing his unease. He was the weaker link, his guilt seeping through the cracks in his bravado. Under pressure, he admitted they had wanted to kill more, confirming the sister's story. Cassandra's mother was next, he said, his voice shaking. But he insisted it was just the two of them, no one else. The lie hung in the air, palpable, as Bruce circled back to the fingerprint. "Then explain this," he said, sliding a photo across the table. Johnny stared, his face paling, but he stayed silent. They weren't alone. Someone else knew. As the hours dragged on, the teens' stories unraveled further. Friends had visited, yes, but they claimed no one suspected a thing. The smell and the sealed door were all dismissed as quirks of the house. The detectives weren't convinced. Someone had to have noticed, had to have wondered. The bubble of denial they had built was fragile, Yet it held for a week. Bruce leaned back, studying them. The audacity, the coldness, it was beyond comprehension. They didn't just kill them, they erased them. By the end of the interrogation, the truth remained elusive, buried in half-lies and deflections. The murders happened on April 1st, 2017, and that much was clear. The motive, the full scope of their plan, lingered in the shadows. The fingerprint loomed, a silent witness to an untold chapter. As Cassandra and Johnny were led away, their fate sealed, Bruce couldn't shake the feeling that the case wasn't over. It's incredible how much remained hidden, even after they spoke. The Cassandra Bjorge case didn't end with the confessions or the closing of the courtroom doors. It lingered in Lawrenceville like a wound that refused to heal, its echoes rippling through the community in ways no one could have predicted. Cassandra and Johnny Ryder were gone, locked away, their fate sealed by the weight of their actions. Yet, the questions they left behind grew louder in their absence, a haunting refrain that refused to fade. The murders of Wendy and Randall and the attempted killings of Johnny's sister and Cassandra's mother were more than crimes. They were a rupture, a tear in the fabric of a quiet town unaccustomed to such shadows. The community grappled with the fallout, each person touched by the case in their own way. Neighbors who once waved across fences now eyed each other with suspicion, wondering what secrets hid behind closed doors. The house on Martin Heights Drive stood empty, a silent monument to the horrors it had witnessed. Some said they heard whispers in the night, faint cries carried on the wind. Superstition took root, fueled by the sheer incomprehensibility of it all. Parents held their children closer, teachers scanned classrooms for signs of trouble, and the police, once a distant presence, became a constant shadow. The town had changed, its innocence stripped away by 2 teenagers and a week of unimaginable darkness. Cassandra's diary became a focal point, its cryptic words dissected by armchair detectives and local gossips alike. That entry from March 28, 2017. Johnny gets it, though. He knows what we have to do. Replayed in conversations, its meaning debated endlessly. Was it proof of premeditation, a glimpse into a twisted pact? Or was it the ramblings of a fractured mind, a cry for help no one heard? The diary offered no answers, only more layers to the enigma. Copies circulated online, each reader seeing something different in the scrawled lines. To some, it was evidence of manipulation, Johnny's influence pulling Cassandra into the abyss. To others, it was her declaration of intent. A girl who had already crossed into the shadow long before the first blow fell. The legal aftermath was swift but unsatisfying. Cassandra and Johnny pleaded guilty, their sentences handed down with the cold efficiency of a system eager to move on. Life in prison, no parole, a lifetime to contemplate the why that no one could fully grasp. Their confessions, riddled with inconsistencies, left gaps the courts could not fill. The partial fingerprint on the wall remained a loose thread, dismissed by officials, but clung to by those who believed the story was incomplete. Rumors of a third figure persisted, a ghost in the narrative that refused to be exorcised. The friends who partied in the house that week were questioned, their ignorance accepted, but doubt lingered in the air like smoke. In the end, the case left more than scars. It left a legacy of unease, a reminder that darkness could bloom anywhere, even in the most ordinary places. Lawrenceville rebuilt, slowly, but the echoes of Cassandra and Johnny's actions remained, a quiet pulse beneath the surface. The house was eventually torn down, the lot left bare, but the story endured. It lived in the whispers, the theories, the sleepless nights of those who could not forget. And as time stretched on, one truth stood clear. Some questions would never find answers, their silence as chilling as the crimes themselves. The town moved forward, but it would never be the same. The Cassandra Bjorge case lingers, a wound that refuses to heal, its unanswered questions clawing at the edges of comprehension. The bare facts stand stark and brutal. Cassandra and Johnny Ryder killed Wendy and Randall Bjorge, then dwelled among the corpses for a week. Yet, the surface story crumbles under scrutiny, revealing a chasm of doubt and dread. The motives remain shrouded, a silence brewing theories as twisted as the acts themselves. What follows is not a resolution, but a plunge into the abyss, where each possibility darkens the shadows further. Consider Cassandra as a figure caught in a web, her strings pulled by Johnny Ryder. At 19, he carried the weight of experience, his presence a force that dominated her world. Friends spoke of their bond as consuming, a connection that left little room for doubt or defiance. Could she have been molded, her will bent by his whispers, her actions a product of his design? A diary entry surfaces, chilling in its simplicity. Johnny gets it, though. He knows what we have to do. The words hint at his influence, a guiding hand steering her toward the unthinkable. Yet, whispers of another entry ripple through the speculation, one that might shift the blame, its contents a mystery that taunts the curious. Flip the lens, and Cassandra emerges as the cold heart of the nightmare. Her composure during questioning, a stillness that unnerved even seasoned investigators, suggests a mind at work, plotting beneath the chaos. The diary, fragmented and cryptic, sketches a portrait of a girl who nurtured darkness long before the blood was spilled. The earlier attack on her grandmother and the police visits that punctuated her life were not mere outbursts but omens, signs of a fury waiting to erupt. Johnny, in this light, becomes the disciple, ensnared by her vision, his role secondary to her intent. Some whisper of a third player, a partial fingerprint left unexplained, a ghost who might have shared their descent. And those friends, laughing amid the stench of death, were they oblivious, or did they know too much, their silence a shield? Step back, and the killings take on a grander, more terrifying shape. The deaths of Wendy and Randall were not the end, but a beginning, a piece of a plan that stretched beyond the walls of that house. The attempts on Johnny's sister and Cassandra's mother paint a picture of annihilation, a mission to sever every tie to their past. Was it a pact, a shared delirium that saw family as chains to be broken? The diary offers a fragment, starting over, a phrase that echoes with intent, a dream of rebirth through destruction. The sisters' survival, a wrench in their scheme, raises a question that chills the blood. Who else was marked, their names lost to the silence? The possibility hangs heavy, a specter of what might have been. These threads weave a tapestry of horror, each one a guess born from the void of truth. Cassandra and Johnny hold the key, their lips sealed, their defiance a wall no one can breach. Lawrenceville wrestles with the echoes, the community trapped in a cycle of fear and fascination. The case festers, its mysteries multiplying, each theory a step deeper into the unknown. One question towers above the rest. Will the full tale ever break free, or will it sink forever into the shadows, a scar on the soul of a town? The answer eludes us, a phantom that dances just out of reach, leaving only the weight of what might be. The story of Cassandra Bjorge is a chilling reminder that evil can wear a familiar face, leaving a small town like Lawrenceville to wrestle with the aftermath of a tragedy too grim to fully comprehend. Lives were broken, questions left dangling in the air, and the reasons behind such brutality remain cloaked in mystery. But as haunting as that tale may be, it is merely a shadow compared to what comes next. Prepare yourself for a journey into an even more twisted abyss. This time, we unravel a narrative so dark it challenges the very boundaries of what you believe is possible. Picture a world where trust erodes, where the human mind bends into something unrecognizable, and where every step forward reveals a new layer of horror. This is not just a story. It is a descent into the blackest corners of existence, a place where the unthinkable does not just happen, it thrives. The next account begins with a bond you would never suspect could break, shattered in ways that defy logic. Clues emerge, but they lead only to deeper confusion, daring you to piece together a truth that may not even exist. This tale forces you to look within, questioning what drives a person to cross lines that should never be crossed. The darkness is not finished with us yet. If you have the stomach for it, stay with us. The shadows are growing longer, and the next revelation is waiting.